If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. A lot of people ask who is to blame for everything going on in the world today. And of course, you could look at any generation. You could look at the boomers, everything that happened in the industrial boom. You could look at millennials. But I think CNN has just decided to answer the question of why and how all this stuff is happening and who are the ones who are being absolutely 100% engineered into this and into buying into all this stuff. And that's the dumbest generation that's ever existed. Generation Z, as they have posted this headline, Gen Z is ready for a revolution. Well, Gen Z is ready to flush America down into the 10th level of hell. These are the ones who are taking away free speech. These are the ones who are joining in and embracing all of this stuff. I mean, I went to the grocery store and literally saw, young teens, white teens holding up signs that say, white silence equals violence. Huh? I don't even know what that means. What would you like me to do? Go stand at the sign on the edge of the road? I'm sorry, I've got better things to do. Okay? All right? But these articles are pushing how they're the ones who are going to be the face of change and the face of this movement, how they're the smarter generation, the tech generation, of course. The generation that's going to force us all to get chipped, they'll be the generation who are fully on board with vaccines, obviously. They don't question a single thing. They just run their mouths on the internet. They don't even know how to interact face-to-face with people. And then you get the leaders of Gen Z, right? Who are the ones who come out and end up being the faces of this movement? The guys like David Hogg, right? Holding up the fist, thousands of people cheering. Well, these are all people who are groomed by Freemasons. And the Prince Hall Freemasons, both black and white, yes, working together as DeMolays, creating these DeMolays, these grooming these young kids. And then, of course, you have the Rainbow Girls and the Joe's Daughters.
Sonic Youth Groups, DeMolay for young men, and Job's Daughters and Rainbow Girls for young women provide a solid foundation for our next generation.
Being part of a Masonic youth organization helped me build leadership, confidence, and lifelong friendships that made me a successful adult.
By building character development, community service, and leadership skills, Masonic Youth Groups help the kids of today prepare for a better tomorrow. Discover more at MasonicYouthGroups.com.
Because of DeMolay, I'm a better student.
Because of DeMolay, I'm a better athlete.
Because of DeMolay, I'm a better son.
Since 1919, DeMolay has given millions of guys, like us, the tools we need to be better leaders on the sports field, at our job, in our community, and in our school. Most of all, DeMolay is about having fun. We take part in athletic, social, and service events while making new friends from around the state.
DeMolay is like a family. Even if you make a mistake, they're always encouraging you.
All these sporting events, which I love sports.
There's meeting new people your age and older. There's meeting girls in DeMolay.
The people that you will meet here will be your best friends the rest of your life.
So if you think DeMolay sounds like fun, log on to ildemolay.org or call 815-312-0981 to learn more.
DeMolay. This is how they create these people who become faces of the movement. Then everybody else is just engineered into following, right? Into buying into everything they hear in the news. And then everything and everyone who is against it is just horrible. And, let's take away their right to free speech. They have no idea what that means for them in the future. They think conspiracies are a complete joke. And that's why those of you who listen to this channel who are Generation Z, your life is more important than anybody, in my opinion. More important than mine, Because you're the ones who are going to be living in a time period where you're literally going to be the percentage of you is going to be so small that are still here that believe in Jesus Christ, that are still here who are questioning Big Brother. And you're going to be living like the characters in 1984. You're literally going to have to be sneaking around to talk to one another. I'll be long gone, hopefully by then, because I don't want to be alive to be a part of that. But you're going to be so important. So don't think I'm bashing on the generation that includes you. I'm bashing on the overall, even just the name of this whole thing. It's so ridiculous. Talking about, oh, they grew up in a post-9/11 country filled with violence. They don't even have a clue about Bagelville in 9/11, let alone anything else that's going on in the world. And then they go on to talk about how Gen Z is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation yet. And they suggest that Gen Z is particularly accepting because of the way that diversity has been normalized within their generation since birth. No, Generation Z is accepting because, one, a lot of them didn't grow up in scripture and in the word. They grew up watching their devices. Their parents would shove an iPhone in their hands, and they would grow up just being raised by the institution and by the stuff they watch on TV, which is all filled with the same storylines of, oh, and there's a character here who just happens to like the Hershey Highway. What a surprise. Oh, and let's accept this. Let's accept that. Oh, let's accept this thing called hate speech because you can't have a difference of opinion. And these are the people who are Generation Z who acts like they're, I guess, they're the ones who are out there who are going to make all this change in the world. They're the softest generation that's ever existed. They can't take criticism, right? They can't, any opinion that's different than theirs, they won't accept because it's hateful and it's bigotry. They're the ones who are into they're literally have been groomed for the do what thou wilt entire mindset, the satanic mindset. They just don't have a clue what they've been groomed for. So that's all we're hearing about is, oh, Gen Z is woken up earlier than anyone. I mean, look at these trigger sentences in the CNN article. Gen Z was woken up earlier. And they talk about the kids in the went through the events in their schools, which you can't even talk about here on YouTube or say anything against it or question anything that happened. It says Eva Lewis, 21, grew up in the south side of Chicago in a black area. She lived in a low-income home with just her mother, describing seeing chaos left and right, and she's quoted saying, "Just hearing about Black Death every day in Chicago, you're used to it. One person killed, 2 killed, 3 killed, 4 killed. The person killed by police, this person by a neighbor. That person, this person." It's so traumatic. And there's only a point in time where you go through stuff like that. There's only so much time when you could go through stuff like that until you react. Oh, yeah. And how did you hear about 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, the police doing this? Who told you? You saw it with your own? Oh, the news. And the news would not be trying to manipulate you into believing this stuff so that there will be civil unrest and then order out of chaos would come in. No. You see, these are the people who believe everything that they're told. Everything. You name it, they believe it. And if they see a video even by someone like me, oh, look at this guy. And people call me a boomer, which is pretty hilarious. They're like, look at this boomer. Oh, he said, oh, pyramids and all-seeing eyes. I mean, they can't even see the basic symbols in front of them, let alone understand what social engineering is, because they're the ones who grew up with all these big brands talking about be your own you and empower yourself. And, they've been told that they're thinking freely when in fact, they're being told how to think while being told that that's thinking freely. They've been coerced. They've been completely manipulated. A lot of this has to do with the fact that both parents were likely working, right? Because we had the feminist agenda. And women suddenly said, you know what, being a mom, I need to have a job so I could post it on Facebook. Because that's just what they were told being a woman is. Where in this generation, it's looked down upon to be a mother, when being a mother is the most important job there is on earth. And that's a fact. Mothers are more important than fathers, in my opinion. Well, just as equal, but being a mother is the most important job. And raising your child correctly, and hopefully raising your child in the Word of God. But they've been told that. So then what happens? The 2 parents go off to work. The kid goes to school. He's raised in the institution. The parents come home. They have dinner. Oh, you learn? Oh, yeah, I learned all the fake stuff at school that you learned, Mom. Dad? Great. All right, off to bed. Right? And then they watch their shows, they're on social media, they're being told, oh, change. Oh, the world is this horrible, violent place. You go drive around, you don't see anything going on. I'm not saying that there's not violence, I get it. I'm not saying it's utopia out there. But it's almost like the stuff you see on the television, it is completely fabricated to the point where it looks like it's shot out of a film studio, and most likely it is, just like the moon landing and all the other crap that they fake. But because they tell you it's TV and the news, because these people don't believe in secret societies like Freemasons, the Order of the Demolay, the Rainbow Girls, the Job's Daughters, the Prince Hall Masons, because they don't believe in anything that we talk about in regards to Bagelville and corruption there, they just think that everybody's just going through the motions. We vote for a president. Nobody seeks power. These people who have money earned it the hard way. I mean, it's an utter joke. Generation Z are the ones who are going to be responsible for the destruction of America. They're already the ones. They're the ones who are begging for all of our rights to be taken away. Because we got to get rid of the guns. We got to get rid of free speech because it's hurting people's feelings, and people who aren't tolerant shouldn't be accepted or allowed. Oh, but when it comes to anything that you say that I disagree with, I'm not allowed to have a difference of opinion. But everything you say is correct. Why? Oh, because you're tolerant of everything. And if you're not tolerant, it means that you're going to commit a crime or you're hateful, right? Don't even get me started with pre-crime. As Christians, we're already labeled as hateful people because of Sodom and Gomorrah and our take on pride and all this other stuff. You're not even allowed to have an opposite take. It is a sick, disgusting mind F is what it is. This generation, Generation Z. And they are going to be the ones that we're the social media revolution. This article is one of the biggest jokes I've ever read in my life. Young Americans felt anxiety as much as joy in 2019, but they're going to be the social media revolution. I wonder how people are becoming so accepting of this whole everything digital, nobody's questioning C19, stay home, interact through FaceTime. You don't need to interact with a human face-to-face. People are like, oh yeah, we're already used to it. We're Generation Z. We've already made our homes prisons with our technology so the NSA can listen 24/7. Oh. If you're in Generation Z and you listen to this channel, God bless you. I hope that you take at least some of the stuff that I talk about and you take it to heart. If you listen to it in your Generation Z and you laugh, well, you aren't going to be laughing for long. Because when all these rights are taken away, so are yours. And while you might continually be distracted by your technology and things like that, soon your free speech is going to be gone. Soon you're going to realize that everything that all of us, conspiracy nuts as we're titled, have been saying was true. And you should be realizing that now because we've been yelling from the rooftops for decades, not just on YouTube, those of us who've been awake for a long time, even before 9/11, talking about all of these things, including the mandatory shots, right? Showed you the predictive programming. I don't know how much more people need to see, right? Now you're seeing the destruction of these monuments. I constantly am talking about it. People are going, you're nuts. They're taking down the monuments and all this stuff because we don't want, because they're a reminder of the racism in the past and our bad history. Exactly. Take out the racism part. That's a reminder of your history, right? So by removing history, and I'm not for or against taking down statues because I couldn't care less about a statue. I don't worship idols, and all these guys are Masons anyway. But by kneeling at the flag, taking down monuments, then I just read this morning that they took down, I forget if it was Roosevelt, somebody's statue, another Mason, by the way. I don't know if it was FDR or, I don't know, somebody. They took down a statue of a former president. Oh, because he had ties to... Exactly. And the older crowd are like, you're out of your mind if you think they're going to get rid of the old red, white, and blue and the flag. Well, what would you have said 100 years ago if you were alive and somebody said we're going to get rid of the Bible? People would say you're out of your freaking mind. The Bible's already been eased away. Generation Z has no interest in Christianity for the most part. The only stories you ever hear are people who come out of Christianity. Oh, I came out of it because I realized it was so hateful and mean. They love to tell those stories to brainwash people. The next thing will be the flag, and Generation Z will see to it. One world, love, unite as one, togetherness, global citizen. These are all things that they're talking about. These are all things that Generation Z embrace. The flag means nothing, and it doesn't mean anything to me either, to be honest, because the flag doesn't represent Jesus. So it just represents a country. But it's important to realize what they're doing with history and with the flag and the kneeling in front of the flag and the removing of the Confederate flags and all this stuff. It's not about race. It's about erasing history and a one world flag, because this is all about a one world order. And I've said it a trillion times. I've showed you videos with trillions of songs about one and just all the trigger words with one and love and one. And that is about the Antichrist. And the one movement is all under the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. And this is what Generation Z is going to lead people to. So if you want to look somewhere and point somewhere, that's where you start. I mean, look, listening to some of these kids talk, I feel bad, and then it doesn't get me super angry. But I'm so disappointed because I just can't believe how smart these kids think they are. You know, and they're like, oh, and we know how to use technology, and the older crowd doesn't. Not true. But anyway, they think they know it all. And they're like, oh, we had to work harder than other generations to get jobs. What are you talking about? Where does this stuff come from? Oh, I'm sorry. It's being fed to them. And then they're believing it. Because they don't think independently. They don't think freely. They think some movement is going to create change. The movement is started by the elites, by the globalists, by the people who control the money, the resources, and the wealth. They want the change. They want the destruction of currency. They want the destruction of the flag. They want the Tower of Babel. They want one. And Generation Z is begging for it. And that's why you see headlines on CNN like this. It gets me so sick to my stomach. How they keep pumping this, and then these young kids don't even question anything. So again, if you're Generation Z and you're listening, it's not an attack on you. The only hope left, other than Jesus Christ is the only hope. But on this earth right now, to stop any type of movement, it's us who are older, and then you who is Generation Z who can actually communicate with these people and try to wake them up, sharing videos, talking about these things, showing them, some of these commercials, right? All with the same marketing message. To use common sense and say, hey, okay, well, aren't we taught that, these artists are supposed to be innovative? Why do they all have the same message and the same symbolism? Aren't we taught that all these brands are supposed to have their own marketing, and they have marketing CEOs that make $1 million a year, yet every commercial's the same with the same message? But they don't believe in mind control, even though the government's admitted to doing it. They've admitted to all of these MK Ultra projects over the years, and there's been dozens of them. I still don't want to believe it, because they believe in the manipulation and the manufacturing that's been done on their brains, that they're independent and they're doing it on their own, and they're the ones who are going to spark change, and they love the hype. They love hearing it because they keep hearing it over and over. It's been pounded into their head so much, just like the lies that we learned in school, that you hear the lie long enough, you believe the lie to be true. And that's what they've done to that generation. There is a revolution coming, and it's not Generation Z's revolution. The revolution that's coming, as they say, will not be televised, because it's Armageddon. That's when the real revolution happens. When all these disgusting, we live in a time period, it's so disgusting to even look around. These people are going to be launched into the pit. And I just hope and I pray, if I'm lucky enough to get to heaven, and don't, right, what do you mean if you're lucky enough? If you're a believer, yeah, well, I'm humble. I don't, if, like I've said a million times, if John the Baptist is last, and he's the most perfect man, closest to perfect to ever live, if he's last, then what are any of us? I never sit there and just go, I've got an automatic ticket, I'm going. We all sin every day, we all fall short every day. And I'm extremely humble and just hope and pray, that I am there, that I get to go to heaven. But if I do, I would love to be on the battlefield. Armageddon. I'd love to be on the battlefield, because I'd love to be punting some of these people into the pit. Some of I can't even say who, because they'll say it's hate speech, but I think you know. Anyway, I've ranted long enough about Gen Z. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where do the leaders of Gen Z come from? The D. Malays, the Job's daughters. They're groomed. That's where they come from. And then they're put in these positions. Because remember, the Mason's job is to make good men better. Their job is to destroy and to bring order out of chaos. They say it themselves. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.